Epilepsy Action Day. Now, epilepsy is a neurological condition that disrupts the electrochemical activity in the brain. There are 40 different types of seizures, and not all involve convulsions.
Well, for more on epilepsy and to debunk some of the common myths, we're joined now by Carol Ireland, who is Chief Executive of Epilepsy Action Australia, and Josh Ripton, who has been living with epilepsy since she was a young adult. Good morning, welcome to you both. And it is alarming to note that recent research has found that awareness in Australia of the condition is in fact declining. Carol, what might that mean in terms of risk factors, I suppose, for those people who suffer the condition?
Yeah. Look, unfortunately, epilepsy is still a stigmatised condition with a lot of myth and misconception. We were alarmed to see that the research, results had gone down. Education is key. I think particularly convulsive seizures can be very confronting. People perceive discrimination if they tell others they have epilepsy. So, for us, it's about education and continuing to raise awareness.
Donna, can you tell us, do you feel as though there's still a stigma attached to it, and how has that affected you?
I feel as though there is a little bit of stigma attached to it. I'm a little bit worried about who I tell, but, I feel as though I do actually have to tell people, if I go for a new job, that type of thing, you have to tell people because you have to worry about what they're going to say and, whether it's going to affect them. And so, yes, I do feel that.
Do you feel as though it's actually affected your chances of employment?
Yes, I do.
So some employers will think twice?
They would, they would, and sometimes it's a natural thing. I mean, there's just some things I can't be an airline pilot, that sort of thing, But sometimes I graduated in a master's in social work a couple of years ago, and there was a lot of times where I knew I wouldn't be able to go for jobs because they just weren't going to be, they just wouldn't want to accept me.
How has that affected your life more broadly? I mean, I understand you're unable to drive, for instance, and that has impacted, hasn't it?
That's a very big thing because I loved driving, and now I can't anymore.
Because you're 27, is that right?
I was, yes I was, that's right, yeah. So when they took my licence away from me, it was like a very big part of my life had just ended.
Lots of independence.
That's right.
Carol, is that unusual that Donna was diagnosed when she was 27? Is that considered to be late? And how does it normally present itself?
It doesn't discriminate, Andrew, so any age you can be diagnosed with epilepsy from a very, very young child through to the very elderly. Depending upon the type of epilepsy, and you alluded to many different seizure types, so seizure types and epilepsy syndromes, depending upon just exactly what type of epilepsy, whether it's a focal seizure, focused area of the brain, or generalised, it will actually sort of cause different kinds of seizures. So not unusual for Donna. If somebody injures their brain with a fall, and I think that was Donna's situation, a fall or something like that, then that can obviously happen at any point in life. If you were to chart the incidents, certainly the peaks are in the very young and in the elderly, but any one of us, up to 800,000 of us, will be diagnosed in our lifetime.
So interesting there you say, as far as Donna was concerned, so that was triggered by a brain injury as such then, was it?
Yes, it was.
And more broadly, it doesn't have to be an injury then, the other issues?
No, there are genetic causes of epilepsy. So in fact you can find, more than one child in a family or, past family history with epilepsy. A lot of research going on, but still a lot of research to be done. It can also be what we call comorbid with other conditions. So somebody, for instance, that had a stroke or perhaps a lesion on their brain are very likely to have epilepsy as well.
So it's quite complex, really, isn't it?
Look, it's very complex, Miriam. I've often been asked for the elevator speech, and there isn't one. The thing in common is seizures, but not all convulsive seizures, as you mentioned. And it is just a disruption to the normal electrochemical activity.
Donna, what do you think is the best way to overcome that stigma that you speak of? Is it simply more awareness? People need to know what it is and perhaps how to deal with it.
Yes, I think so. I explain to people exactly what the type of seizure I have is, and the first thing they always say is, what do I do? And then I generally say, because I don't have the tonic-clonic seizures, the convulsive seizures, mine are a less severe, seizure. It's a complex partial or focal discognitive seizure. And when they say, what do? I say, pretty much nothing, just make sure I'm okay. You know, I'm not going to fall over. I'm probably just going to, you know, stare into the distance, or might say something a little bit silly, you know, and then just make sure I'm okay. And then a few minutes later, just let me know I've had a seizure. It's okay. It's fine. You know, I get on with my life. It's just part of the way it is, you know. And that usually lets them think, oh, okay, right. And generally it works for most people.
And what's, say, an average week like for you? Because of course you have your husband and a little girl as well.
Yes.
So what might an average week involve for you in terms of, you know, living your life around that condition?
Okay, so I have a job, and you know, I'm very happy to say that, you know, they employed me and that they know about my condition and they're fine. So I would have a seizure every 1 to 2 weeks, and there'll be 1 or 2 in a day normally. The changes that are involved in the week would be, you know, no driving. So, you know, I call myself the queen of public transport and taxis. So I don't cook anymore, and my husband's very wary about my cooking. I had a bit of a cooking accident. I just have to be, I have to take care of my daughter, although these days she takes care of me a lot. Then there's the just little things. You just have to be wary of lots of things. You know, I can't do things I used to do, like swimming. You know, you can't really have a bath. You have to be careful about that. So you just have to be wary of things, you know. And the most important thing to me is if I'm going to be with somebody for a long period of time, just to make sure they know.
Carol, you've spoken of many different varieties of the condition, many different forms. What about the treatment? What's available?
Most people would actually get reasonable seizure control with medication. Donna's has been what we call a little bit medication resistant, you know, and that's unfortunate. But so around about 65% of people with epilepsy will get reasonable seizure control. Sadly, the other 35% will go on to have many, many seizures. Now, you've probably heard about surgery. You know, the greats Wally Lewis and Paul Wade, sports people that have had surgery. Well, unfortunately, it's only about 1% of people with epilepsy that are candidates for surgery. You have to be able to find the mark on the brain that's causing it and literally remove it. So medication is the frontline treatment. Sadly, it is really difficult for the other 35%. And, you know, at the really tough end, it could be people that are having daily seizures, even hundreds of seizures per day. Medicinal cannabis is offering, you know, a new treatment option. So we've got a lot of hope pinned on the fact that at least some people will be helped by medicinal cannabis.
So there is a lot of work going ahead now, given that we are marking Purple Day, or what Raising Awareness. What message would you have for those out there who are also living with epilepsy and family and friends who are supporting them? What would you say to them?
I guess I'd say just try and ensure everybody knows, you know, and everyone that cares for you, you know, they all understand, and try and get it out there that everyone else can understand as well. And, you know, it's not a nasty disease to have, or it's not even a disease, you know, it's not a bad condition. It's just something that we have to live with every day, and you can too, you know, and try to understand it.
Dr. Shrimpton and Carol Ireland, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.